So for our ethical hacking tool, we went for the Burpsuite. So Burpsuite is a tool that allows us to intercept web traffic, view it, analyze it, and maybe extract some data from it. So for our demonstration, we'll be performing credential harvesting by extracting login information from the web traffic that we would have intercepted. Burpsuite is pre-installed in Kali, so it's found under applications. Just type burp and it shows me results. The first one is the one we need, Burpsuite. In this case, we're using the community edition, but it is sufficient for what we need to demonstrate. This is the free version. There are other versions that are paid for that have way more functionality, but this community edition is very powerful as well. So our setup involves a Kali box, a Kali Linux box, which is the one which is displaying at the moment, and then also a metasploitable virtual machine that will be acting as the web server, serving up our web application that will intercept the traffic from. So we'll be using the DEM vulnerable web application, the DVWA from Metasploitable. So once Burpsuite is loaded in the community edition, we are restricted to the temporary project. So just click next. And then we just use the burp defaults and start up burp. Then we also need to set up a web browser to use Burpsuite as the proxy so that we can be able to intercept all the web traffic. So Burpsuite uses the loop address, the loopback address 1.127.0.0.1 here. It can be found here under proxy, then options. Under the proxy tab, then the options tab. So Burpsuite will be listening on this socket, that is the loopback address and port 8080 for all traffic and intercept all that traffic. So now we need to open a web browser and set up this as the proxy for that browser. Burpsuite by default is configured to work with Chromium. You can just open it and it will start to work, but for demonstration of how to set up the proxy, we'll open Firefox. And when Firefox is opened, we go to Preferences and search for proxy. Then open Settings under Network Settings. Then by default, it's usually on No Proxy, but you need to go to Manual Proxy Configuration, then enter the loopback address, the loopback IP address 127.0.0.1, then also enter the port number, port 8080, and then press OK. And now Firefox will now use that address as the proxy, which is where Burpsuite is listening for all web traffic. So going back into Burpsuite, Burpsuite allows us to do more than just intercept web traffic. We can perform attacks like SQL injection attacks. We can perform brute force attacks with these various tools. On top of this bar, we have intruder, repeater, sequencer, decoder. These are all tools. Each tab represents a tool that does a specific task that is important in our ethical hacking tasks. So remember, we are using the Metasploitable tool as the target host. So we need to acquire the IP address, which I have already done. And it happens to be 192.168.139.130. And if I press enter, Burpsuite has already intercepted the traffic that has been generated from the damn vulnerable web application. So here what we can do is we can either drop or forward the connection. If we drop the connection, it will fail. Going back to the browser, we see that it has failed. Let me just run that again, intercept it again. Now I will forward the request. Then going back to the browser, we see that it has succeeded. We can also check from the history. We see that the status is 200. And we can also see from this section here, the response is a status of 200, which is a success status. Right, we can come to the target tab, click the filter bar. We can see definitions of the HTTP status messages. The two XX ones represent success, the 3XX represent redirection, and then we have the error status messages, etc. I'll cancel that and go back to the proxy. So the history tab shows us each and every request and response that we have received. They will be listed here, and clicking each one will give you the details, the further details, including in the inspector. It shows the response headers and the request headers, etc. And also here within the response, you have the option to render and view this raw HTML as an actual page, which is the same as the one that we'll get in the web browser. So you have the option to view it within Burpsuite itself, but I'll just keep it at pretty or raw, which just shows us the vanilla HTML unrendered. So we now continue on to the damn vulnerable web application by clicking the DVWA link. It's intercepted again. We go back to the intercept. As you can see, the tab is just lit up orange to show that there's new data received. So we go there and then forward that request, and we forward the redirection as well. And then there's no more traffic, meaning the web page is completely loaded. So we can see in actual fact it has. Then as part of our demonstration, we mentioned we were going to be doing credential harvesting. So we log in with the default username and password, which is admin, and password, and then click login. It's intercepted again, and here we can see the credentials have been intercepted, and we can just copy them and store them elsewhere, whether either in a text file or some other document for a later use. If we are a malicious attacker, we can then use them to perform other attacks like brute force attacks using the other tools within the Burpsuite. So that is mostly what we needed to demonstrate. with Burpsuite, but there's also some other interesting tools that we can just discuss briefly. So I'll forward this and then also forward the redirection. Go back. You see we've managed to log in into the application. Going back to Burpsuite, just want to demonstrate the repeater. So I'll need to rerun this and intercept, and then I'll forward and run that again, and I'll forward it. Sorry, let me log out first, forward all the traffic, and then log in again. So what I need to do is you just right click, just look at the repeater tab. It will light up orange as soon as I send traffic to it. I'll say right click and then send to repeater. It is just lit up. So open the repeater tab. What this will do, it will allow us to perform several requests without having to switch back and forth between the web application and the browser, within Burpsuite and the web browser. So as you can see, we've sent the intercepted credentials here. I can click send here and we get a response on this other page, and then follow redirection to complete. So here we have gotten a page same as the one in the web browser, but using the repeater now, the web browser has not followed through with the redirection. It has all been done within Burpsuite itself, and we have the option to render. And get into the web application. We can replay certain tasks either by clicking this down arrow and going straight to a particular point in the history, or we can just use the back to replay the login page here, the login request, and then here maybe I can put a wrong password and then click send and then follow redirection. We see that login failed. The login is failed. So I can go back to any point in the history within the repeater. I can try a lot of stuff before actually doing it in the web application, because the web application is still hanging. But going back to the proxy, if I forward it, it will then complete. So the repeater can be used to try out several passwords, usernames and passwords without switching back and before actually hitting the web server itself. And then we have the comparer. The comparer allows us to also send web traffic. Let me just go to SQL injection. We can send this, send to comparer, and then on the bottom panel we can add a different request or page, and then do a comparison of the two pieces of data We can either do it at the byte level or at the word level to see any differences within the pages. So I'll do another click and then intercept it and then send it to the compiler again. So now we have two pages that we can compare. One is a length of 462, the other one of 474. Coming to the bottom right corner, we can compare the word level and see what difference there has been between the two. So the only difference here is the URL of the request that we've made. So this is useful in probably when you are inputting data, different data into the web application, different credentials. You can see the difference in behavior between several pages to pick interesting things that can use to then attack or to secure the web application. That is all for our demonstration. I thank you.